வணக்கம் ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ். இன்றைக்கி நம்ம வந்து செக்ஸ் அண்ட் ஜெண்டர் பற்றி நம்ம வந்து என்ன வித்தியாசம் இருக்குது அப்படின்னு பார்ப்போம். அதாவது பார்த்திங்கன்னா, செக்ஸ் refers to the biological aspect as determined by their anatomy, which is produced by their chromosomes, hormones and their interactions, generally male or female, something that is assigned at birth. Sex has characteristics that are biologically defined, whereas gender is based on socially constructed features. They recognize that there are variations in how people experience gender based upon self-perception expression. Male and female genitalia, both internal and external, are different, and male and female bodies have distinct hormonal and chromosomal makeups. Doctors use these factors to assign natal sex. At birth, female assigned people have higher levels of estrogen, progesterone, and while assigned males have higher levels of testosterone. Assigned females typically have 2 copies of the X chromosome, and assigned male have 1 X and 1 Y chromosome. Gender refers to the characteristics of women, men, girls and boys that are socially constructed. This includes norms, behaviors and roles associated with being a woman, man, girl or a boy, as well as relationship with each other. As a social construct, gender varies from society to society and can change over time. Gender inequality and discrimination faced by women and girls put their health and well-being at risk. Women and girls often face greater barriers than men and boys to access health information and services. These barriers include restrictions on mobility, lack of access to decision-making power, lower literacy rate, discriminatory attitudes of communities and healthcare providers, and lack of training and awareness among the healthcare providers and health system of the specific health needs and challenges of women and girls. Gender roles expectation may differ across time and culture. Gender distinctions are created by social norms. Gender has 2 main categories, masculine and feminine. Masculinity characteristics: the traditional male quality of being brave and strong. Men accustomed to proving their manliness on the streets. Physical strength and good health. Strength is the main characteristic, the quality or state of being strong. Masculinity characteristics: handsome, muscled and driven is a prime example of masculinity in a man. The quality of having strength, energy and a strong sex drive and manliness. Now, femininity characteristics: qualities or attributes regarded as a characteristic of woman, womanhood, the state or condition of being woman. Differentiate between masculinity and femininity characteristic. In masculinity it is strength, in femininity it is weakness. In masculinity it is dominance, femininity it is submission. In masculinity it is aggression, in femininity it is compliance, vulnerability. In masculinity it is independence, femininity it is dependence. Masculinity is empowerment, femininity is disempowerment. Masculinity is active, femininity is passive. Masculinity is rational thought, femininity is emotion. In masculinity it's production, femininity is consumption. In masculinity it is breadwinner, femininity is nurture. In masculinity it is subject, in femininity it is object. In masculinity it is outdoors, in femininity it is indoors. Masculinity is technology, femininity it is nature. Now we can see the symbol of male and female used. These are the symbols for depict male and female. Then you can use this symbol as a transgender to depict transgender. This symbol shows gender equality. Now we will see this toxic masculinity diagram. If someone's manhood, masculinity, manliness is affected by the choices a woman makes for her own life, then it is toxic masculinity. If this happens, we should stop this, because there is an inequality between men and women. In this picture we will see toxic masculinity. There is a violence, issues, depressions, anger, wife, conflict, abuse, violence, beautiful, bruised girl, husband, president, frightened, domestic, couple relationship, crying, grief, afraid, emotional relationship, physical hurt, upset. In this diagram we will see gender expression, gender identity, orientation or attraction, or sex. Gender expression: the way a person communicates their gender identity to others by the way they dress, act, or refers to themselves as gender expression. Gender identity: a person's internal sense of being a man or a woman or anything in between is a gender identity. Orientation or attraction: a term to describe sexual and or romantic attraction to others. Then sex: the labels male, female, or intersex given to someone at birth based on their body parts is a. Now we will see sexual orientations types. LGBTQ, full form is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer. LGBTQ refers to individuals who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer. Then homosexual: a person who is emotionally, physically, and or sexually attracted to a person of the same sex. Gay: a common and acceptable terms for male homosexual, but also used when referring to both men and women. Lesbian: a common and acceptable terms for female homosexuals. Bisexuals: a person who is emotionally, physically, and or sexually attracted to both men and women. Transgender: an umbrella term for individual who blurred the lines of the traditional gender expression. It is sometimes refers to cross-dressers and transsexuals. It is also reflect recent scholarship which suggests gender to be socially constructed. Transgendered individuals recognize the social construction of their genders and thus do not fit neatly within societally prescribed gender roles and determined by biological sex, and also referred to as a hijra in India. What are the different types of sexual orientations? Heterosexual: sexually attracted to the people of the opposite sex. Homosexual: sexually attracted to people of one's own sex. Bisexual: sexually attracted to both men and women. What is LGBT? LGBT is an initialism that stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender. LGBT is the replacement of the term gay community, since felt the term gay community did not accurately represent all those to whom it referred. Now we will see patriarchy. Patriarchy is a pattern of society or a system of social administration in which the father or senior male enjoys being the head of the family. Definition of patriarchy in context of the society: an arrangement of society where men hold power over women and can inhibit them to do what they want. In this diagram we will see patriarchy, the effects of patriarchy, unequal pay, abuse, gender roles, objectification, unrealistic standards of beauty, rape culture, male dominated industries, gender stereotypes, shaming language, negative female portrayals. These are the effects of patriarchy. Promote equality, gender equality, disparity in status, power and prestige between people who identify as a woman or man. In this diagram we should avoid patriarchy and there should be equality between men and women. Now we will see the conclusion. Patriarchy is the root of the world's population. War, colonization, rape, sexism, racism, destruction of the environment, so-called domestic violence, sexual slavery, kids killing, kids fascism, religious fanaticism, homophobia, to a new name of a few. It's time for all women and men to rise and unite our voices, hearts and minds to change and transform that which does not serve life. The patriarchal event in the human history must come to an end. Now we will see characteristics of patriarchal system. Men hold all positions of power and authority. In a patriarchal system, men make all decisions both in the family as well as in the society. Men are considered superior. Men are considered with identification that includes qualities of control, forcefulness, strength, strong work, etc., ethic, rationality and competitiveness. Men will be the focus and developer of all events and inventions. Men will be the heroes in all situations. Men will have the controls on finances, educations. Oppression of women will be visible. Now we will see feminism. The definition of feminism: the doctrine advocating social, political and all other rights to women as equal to men. An organized movement for the attainment of rights for women. The fight against a male-centered and male-run world is against patriarchy. Is a feminism. The goals of feminism: to demonstrate the importance of women, to reveal that historically women have been subordinated to men, to bring about gender equity. Roots of feminism: men have oppressed women, devoiced, devalued and trivialized the women, non-significant others. Hi, now we will see who is a feminist. Hi, I am a feminist. No, I don't hate men. No, I don't think men are evil. No, I don't think all men are rapists. Yes, I want equity for all genders. Yes, I am feminist. Feminist can be women and can be a man. To be a feminist, you have to be a female. Feminists hate man. Feminists believe that women are better than men. Feminism is no longer relevant. Feminism only applies to white, cisgendered, heterosexual women. This feminist literary criticism diagram shows evolution of man and of a woman. This is radical feminism and feminism. Now we will see liberal feminism. In liberal feminism, female saying I am equal to him, and boys saying she is equal to me. That is, equality is equal to equal opportunity. Liberal feminism fights for complete gender equality through social, political and legal means. Now we will see social feminism. Social feminism theory examines the relationship between women's maltreatment combined with social and economic factor. Social feminists don't believe that patriarchy is the only reason. I am going to pay you more because you are a man. Now we will see cultural feminism. This type of feminism is the solidarity of sisterhood which highlights the finest qualities and positive characteristics of women. Cultural feminists have valued women and encouraged women to embrace themselves in significant part of the society. This diagram depicts cultural feminism, showing all the work done by women with valued cultural. First wave of feminism in the 19th and 20th century period of activity. United Kingdom and USA, equal contract marriage, parenting, property rights, political power, women's suffrage, women's reproductive, economic rights. Feminism is the radical notion that women are people. Second wave of feminism in 1960, during the second wave of feminism, a remarkable event in the human history and had happened. The end of the patriarchy. Suddenly women became active in politics, demanded and won the rights to university education, to career, to easy divorce. Suddenly women being voting differently to men. Third wave of feminism. The third wave of feminism is described as the sudden representation of women at all levels of government. Third wave feminism deals with issues which appear to limit or oppress women. Gender violence has become a central issue for third wave feminists. Now we will talk about gender discrimination in India. Honor killing, violence against women committed with the motive of protecting or regaining the honor of the perpetrated family or community. Female infanticides and selective abortion. There is a lack of education. Females are meant to do household work, so are highly neglect for the education. Wage discrimination. Women are almost half of the workforce. They are the equal, if not main. They receive more college and graduate degrees than men. Yet on average, women continue to earn considerably less than men. Gender wage gap is there. This is not equality. Sexism in India. In India, prenatal sex selection and infanticide accounted for the prenatal termination death of 500,000 girls per year over the past 20 years. Steps we could implement. Economic independence will free the woman from the slavery position and boost the self-confidence. Economic independence of women are also helps in the national economic development. Steps we could implement. Empowerment. Empowering women with the help of laws, education and employment will make the society to accept the woman as an equal gender like male. Female also has all the time potential, and empowering woman will help to use her full capability and mitigate the economic dependency of women. Now we will see gender discrimination, prejudice or discrimination based on a person's sex or gender. It does affect both men and women, but especially women. Some may believe that one sex or gender is superior to another. Gender discrimination commonly found in education, work, income, culture. There is a gender discrimination at workplace. At the time of marriage, dowry is the main problem. Domestic violence, a crime against a woman, is committed in every 3 minutes. Child labor is also the main problem, and the child marriage we face in the society. Trafficking, the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act was passed in 1956 with aim to prevent girls from trafficking and child labor. Now we will see gender stereotype. A stereotype is a mistaken idea or belief many people have about thing or group that is based upon how they look on the outside, which may be untrue or only partly true. Stereotyping people is a type of prejudice because what is on the outside is a small part of who a person is. Now we will see traditional gender stereotypes by judging from the outside looks. That is feminine not aggressive, masculine aggressive. Feminine dependent, masculine independent. Feminine easily influenced, masculine not easily influenced, feminine submissive, masculine dominant, feminine are passive, masculine are active, feminine are home oriented, masculine are worldly, feminine are easily hurt emotionally, masculine are not easily hurt emotionally, feminine are indecisive, masculine are decisive, feminine are talkative, masculine are not all talkative, feminine are gentle, masculine are tough, feminine are sensitive to others feeling, masculine less sensitive to others feeling, feminine very deserious of security, masculine not very deserious of security, feminine cries a lot, masculine rarely cries, feminine emotional. In this picture the pink color is girl and blue color is boys. Let me see the pink color. Pink color are emotional, gossip, teacher, cooking, Barbies, nurse, shopping, cleaning, insecure, raise children, Starbucks. And blue, powerful, jock, violent, lazy, doctors, video games, action figures, cars, thick-headed, strong, play sports. Hence, these are the examples of gender stereotype. Stereotype is nothing but is a bias, judging the person by outside looks. Now we will see gender sensitivity. Gender sensitivity tries to ensure that people rely less on assumptions about traditional and outdated views on the roles of men and women. Now we will see the example of gender sensitivity. Men can also able to cry. Women are the best race car drivers. Men can also do babysitting. Women are good workers also. Now we will see equality versus equity. Equality is a sameness, equity is a giving fair chances. Now we will see gender equity. Gender equity is the process of being fair to women and men at workplace and any given situation. Equity leads to equality. This diagram shows gender equity between men and women. Now we will see gender equality. It's a long-term goal, absence of discrimination based on sex. Equality between men and women exists when both sexes are able to share equally in the distribution of power and influence. Examples of gender inequality: forbidden from driving, right to divorce, access to education, right to travel, professional obstacles, violence, feminization of poverty. This picture shows difference between equality and equity to the child. Now we will see what is gender mainstreaming. Gender mainstreaming is a strategy for developing policies, legislations, programs, projects, society and community development plans from gender equality perspective in order to benefit both men and women. Gender mainstreaming emerged from the Women in Development with policy approaches widely adopted by development organizations in the 1980s. Gender mainstreaming is not about a woman's only issue. It is not just about improving access or of balancing the statistics, about having well-written statements, about blaming anybody for the inequalities which exist, about only women taking action, about only women benefits from it, about stopping or replacing gender-specific policies and projects targeted at either women or men. Gender mainstreaming covers policy planning, drafting, legislation, implementation and evaluation. Principles of gender mainstreaming covers gender equality, incorporating gender into politics, including women in decision making, prioritizing gender equality, shifts in institutional culture. Now we will see women empowerment. Women empowerment refers to increasing the spiritual, political, social, educational, gender or economic strength of individuals and communities of women. Women's sex ratio is 943 per 1000 men, child sex ratio 919 per 1000 men. Need for women empowerment. Women are deprived of decision making power, freedom of movement, access of education, access to employment, exposure to media, domestic violence. Why we need empowerment? There is education problem, society, gender prejudice, low confidence, lack of unity, problem related with health, poverty and ignorance, traditional barriers. Women empowerment principle. Leadership promotes gender equality, health, safety and freedom from violence, education and training, development and marketing practices, equal opportunity, inclusions and non-discriminations. Now we will see the vision and missions of women empowerment. Equality, mutuality in relationships, economic independence, women identification, having political power in society. Gender studies. Women and men are more alike than they are different. Men are not from Mars, women are not from Venus. We are all from planet Earth, said by Michael S. Kimmel. Why we need gender studies? Gender studies programs have been so successful as a part of an intellectual movement that is more awareness of the importance of gender in people's lives. Now we will see CEDAW, that is CEDAW, full form, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, is an international treaty adopted in 1979 by the United Nations General Assembly, described as an International Bill of Rights for Women. It was instituted on 3rd September 1981 and has been ratified by 189 states, effective from 3rd September 1981, but signed on 18th December 1979. Its depository is Secretary General of United Nations. 12 main goals of the CEDAW are: women and poverty, education and training of women, women and health, violence against women, women and armed conflict, women and the economy, women in power and decision making, institutional mechanism for the advancement of women, human rights of women, women and the media, women and the environment, the girl child. CEDAW, Beijing, China. World Conference on Women. United Nations has organized 4 world conferences on the women. These took place in Mexico City in 1975, Copenhagen in 1980, Nairobi in 1985 and Beijing in 1995. The last was followed by a series of 5 years review. Now we will see gender inclusive. Means to open to everyone and not limited to certain people from a gender standpoint. This means that these service establishments, schools, practitioners, government agencies, etc. are all welcoming of all kids regardless of their gender identity and or of expressions. Now we will see gender exclusive. Gender exclusive language that refers to one gender while neglecting the other, even when talking about both men and women, is commonplace in everyday language, is called gender exclusive. Under University Grants Commission, suction measures for ensuring the safety of women and programs for gender sensitization on campuses. Under University Grants Commission, the main goal of the UGC is to sensitize about gender in the institution and colleges, universities. The main objective of University Grants Commission 7 is to measure and check sexual harassment in universities and colleges. Now we will see what is a sex ratio. Sex ratio in India is defined as the number of females per 1000 males in the population. Internationally, sex ratio is defined as the number of males per 100 females. At the census 2001, sex ratio of population stood at 933 females per 1000 males, a marginal increase from 927 recorded at the 1991 census. Sex ratio by country: India 933, China 944, USA 1029, Indonesia 1004, Brazil 1025, Pakistan 938, Bangladesh 951, Japan 1041, Russia 1140. Now we will see women's education in India. There is an African proverb: if you educate a boy, you educate an individual. But if you educate a girl, you educate a community. It's an African proverb. Factors holding one from going to school: poor school environment for girls, the lower enrollment, dowry system, early marriage, priority to son's education compared to daughter's education, and poverty. Female literacy rate in India, then it's lower than the men literacy rate. Kerala has the highest female literacy rate. Bihar and Uttar Pradesh have low female literacy rate. Wide gaps between the urban and rural populations. Now we will see problems of health and well-being in Indian women. Some facts about women's health in India. Nutritional deprivation has major consequence of different ailment. Only small proportion of women in India are consuming a balanced diet. Deficient intakes of essential nutrients such as calcium, iron, magnesium, zinc, folic acid, vitamin A, vitamin B6, vitamin C are found more in large proportion to young women than young men in a study in India. Adolescent age from 10 to 15 and to 18, early childbearing and abortion, STD and HIV infection, undernutrition and anemia is the main problem, increase in substance abuse. Now we will see maternal mortality. India accounts for 20% of maternal deaths. Every minute one woman dies of pregnancy and childbirth. Maternal mortality rate is MMR is 330 per 1 lakh live births. Improving, still we are far from MD goals greater than Bangladesh and Pakistan. Now we will see employment discrimination. Example: Miss, you are perfect for this job, but sorry, we are looking for a male candidate. That is direct discrimination. There is a discrimination in salary, and there is a dominance in the office. Now we will see sexual harassment. Sexual harassment occurs when the office or workplace becomes a hostile environment based on the sexually charged action directed at workers. Ogling and making suggestive comments about clothing, body parts or looks, touching or caressing an employee or co-worker. Steps taken by the government: banning sex determination, women empowerment, job reservation for women, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao Yojana, Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana. Now we will see gender and governance. Reservation for women in politics. 50% reservation has been given to the women in politics in Bihar. Less than 50% reservation is given to women in politics in Tamil Nadu. Gujarat is going to follow this law of reservation. Law is formed to give women a reservation in politics in different countries including India. Now you can see the gender discrimination in office. Now we will see gender law. Women specific legislation: the Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956, the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005, Sati Prevention Act 1987, 3 of 1988, the Indecent Representation of Women Prohibition 1986, the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, eve teasing new legislation, sexual harassment at workplace Vishakha guidelines, the Equal Remuneration Act 1976, the Factories Act 1948, National Commission for Women Act 1990, 20 of 1990, the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971, 34 of 1971, etc. Now we will see Domestic Violence Act 2005. Now we will see forms of domestic violence: physical assault or injury, hitting, beating, shoving; psychological or emotional abuse, social abuse, financial abuse, sexual assault, sexual abuse, forced sexual activity. Now we will see effects of domestic violence: anxiety, chronic depression, chronic pain, death, drug and alcohol dependence, health problems, malnutrition, panic attacks, repeated self-injury, self-neglect, self-dysfunction, sleep disorder, strained family relationships, suicide attempts, inability to adequately respond to the needs of their children. Now we will see National Policy for the Empowerment of Women 2001. Poverty eradication, microcredit, women and economy, globalization, women and agriculture, women and industry, support services, education and health. Then nutrition, drinking water and sanitation, housing and shelter, environment, science and technology, women in difficult circumstances, violence against women. Then rights of the girl child and mass media. Now we will see gender and development, that is GAD. Now we will see what is GAD. The GAD, or gender and development approach, focuses on the socially constructed basis of differences between men and women and emphasizes the need to challenge existing gender roles and relations. Now we will see theory of GAD. GAD was developed in the 1980s as an alternative to the Women in Development, that is WID approach. There are three theoretical debates, that is WID, WAD, GAD. WID means women in development, WAD means women and development, GAD means gender and development. Different approaches of WID, women in development: welfare approach, equity approach, anti-poverty approach, efficiency approach, empowerment approach. Now we will see GAD approach, that is gender and development approach. Features are: GAD rejects the public-private dichotomy. It gives special attention to oppression of women in the family by entering the so-called private sphere. It emphasizes the state's duty to provide social service in promoting women's emancipation. Women seen as agents of change rather than as a passive recipient of development assistance. Stresses the need for women to organize themselves for a more effective political voice. It recognizes that patriarchy operates within and across classes to oppress women. Focus on strengthening women's legal rights, including the reform of inheritance and land laws. It talks in terms of upsetting the existing power relations in society between men and women. The need for women empowerment. Women development relates to economical, educational, political and social. Now we will see Millennium Development Goals, that we call in short MDGs. By year 2015, all 191 UN member states have pledged for eradicate extreme poverty and hunger, achieve universal primary education, promote gender equality and empower women, reduce child mortality, improve maternal health, combat HIV/AIDS, malaria and other diseases, ensure environmental sustainability, develop a global partnership for development. Now we will see initiatives taken on international level by United Nations. United Nations Decades for Women 1975-85 included several women-related welfare issues on international agenda. United Nations Decade for Women. The United Nations Decades for Women was a period from 1975 to 1985, focused on the policies and issues that impact women, such as pay equity, gendered violence, land holding, and other human rights. It was adopted from December 15, 1975 by the United Nations General Assembly by Resolution 31-136. Now we will see the goals and objectives of United Nations year-wise. 1960 to 1970, United Nations Development Decade. 1970s, Disarmament Decade. 1971 to 1980, Second United Nations Development Decade. 1973 to 1983, Decade to Combat Racism and Racial Discrimination. 1976 to 1985, United Nations Decade for Women, Equality, Development and Peace. 1978 to 1988, Transport and Communications Decade for Africa. 1980s, Industrial Development Decade for Africa. 1980 to 1990, Second Disarmament Decade. 1981 to 1990, International Drinking Water Supply and Sanitation Decade. Third United Nations Development Decade. 1983 to 1992, United Nations Decade for Disabled Person. 1983 to 1993, Second Decade to Combat Racism and Racial Discrimination. 1988 to 1997, World Decade for Cultural Development. 1990s, Third Disarmament Decade. Now we will see UN Women's Conference, Copenhagen, Denmark, 1980. This conference was used to reflect on progress made since the 1975 conference in Mexico, as the organization began to reflect upon the progress that has been made so far. Some issues that prevented the advancement of women were noted, including lack of sufficient involvement of men in improving women's role in society, insufficient political will, lack of recognition of the value of women's contribution to society, lack of attention to the particular needs of women in planning, a shortage of women in decision-making positions, insufficient services to support the role of women in national life, such as cooperative daycare centers and credit facilities. Overall lack of necessary financial resources, lack of awareness among women about the opportunities available to them. Next, UN Women's Conference held in 1985, Nairobi, Kenya. This conference was gathered to celebrate the accomplishment of the decade, but also to establish an agenda that would continue the efforts of the issues facing women beyond 1985. A document titled The Nairobi Forward-Looking Strategies for Advancement of Women was created. In 1995, conference was held in the Beijing, China to accelerate the implementation of the initiatives outlined in the document. Now we will see International Women's Day. International Women's Year 1975. International Women's Year was the name given to 1975 by the United Nations. Since that year, March 8 has been celebrated as International Women's Day and the United Nations Decades for Women from 1976 to 1985. It is a day that recognizes the achievements of all women, regardless of their race, religion, ethnicity, political beliefs, language, or their culture. Or now we will see national policy on the empowerment of women. It was started in the year 2001 in India. Type of measures are policies such as inclusion of violence against women in other national plan strategy. Form of violence: domestic violence, intimate partner violence, other harmful practices, sexual harassment, sexual violence, trafficking, violence against women and girls. Now we will see mainstreaming global policies, that is gender mainstreaming, the concept of bringing gender issues into the mainstreaming of society. It was clearly established as a global strategy for promoting gender equality in the platform for actions adopted at the United Nations Fourth World Conference on Women held in Beijing, China in 1995. It highlighted the necessity to ensure that gender equality is a primary goal in all areas of social and economic development. Now we are going to see National Commission for Women Act 1990. The National Commission for Women was set up as a statutory body in January 1992 under the National Commission for Women Act 1990, Act number 20 of 1990 of Government of India, to review the constitutional and legal safeguards for women, recommend remedial legislative measures, facilitate redressal of grievances, and advise the government on all policy matters affecting women. National Commission for Women Mission. to strive towards enabling women to achieve equality and equal participation in all spheres of life by securing her due rights and entitlement through suitable policy formulation, legislative measures, effective enforcement of laws, implementation of schemes, policies, and devising strategies for solution of specific problems, situation arising out of discrimination and atrocities against women. The vision of National Commission for Women, the Indian woman secure in her home and outside, fully empowered to access all her rights and entitlement with the opportunity to contribute equally in all walks of life. All women police stations. Commonly, the station address family violence, particularly physical violence, threats, as well as sexual violence. The stations are often staffed by specially trained female personnel and aim to improve the ability of the police to respond to the unique needs of the woman survivor. Role of all women police station. Specialized units generally offer improved reporting facilities, support to the victims in the matters such as medical care, counseling, and financial help survivors to initiate legal action. They often also play a role in raising awareness about women's rights and women's security needs within the community. Now we will see family courts. Origin to establish the family courts in India. The need to establish the family court was first emphasized in India by the late Srimati Durgabai Deshmukh after a tour of China in 1953. She discussed the subject with certain judges and legal experts and then made a proposal to set up a family court in India to Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. The areas deals by family court are marriage, civil unions, domestic partnership, child custody, paternity testing, and child abuse. Family court, child custody evaluation, visitation risk assessment, grandparent visitation evaluation, mediation of parent conflicts about children, child abuse evaluations, adoption readiness evaluation, development of family reunification plans, evaluation to assess termination of parental rights. Family Court Act 1984, enacted with the main aim of providing easy and speedy settlement relating to disputes concerning marriage and family affairs. State may, in consultation with the High Court, establish a family court for a city or town whose population exceeds 1 million. Role of counselors in the family court. Counseling and conciliation are the two pillars on which the whole structure of family court is built. Role of counselor is not limited to counseling but extends to reconciliation, mutual settlement where deemed feasible. Most of the cases filed before the family court can be resolved by way of proper counseling. The counselor shall fix time and date of appointment and inform the same to the parties for their appearance. If either of the parties fails to attend the date, the counselor may fix another date and communicate the same to the concerned by registered post. In case of default by either of the parties on the adjourned date, the counselor shall submit a report to the court and then the court will take action against the defaulting parties. On appearance of parties, the counsellors made effort to settle the dispute by the way of conciliation. The counsellor may, in discharge of his duties, visit the home of either of the parties and interview the relatives, friends, and acquaintances of either. The Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005, an overview. Identifying the acts of domestic violence: physical violence, beating, slapping, hitting, biting, kicking, punching, pushing, shoving, causing bodily injury or pain in the other manner. Now we will see sexual violence: any act of sexual nature to abuse, humiliate or degrade you, or which is otherwise violate of your dignity, or any other unwelcome conduct of sexual nature. Why act was passed? Women were harassed, harmed, injured or endangered the aggrieved person. They were abused verbally, emotionally and economically. They were treated as a public property. Now we will see Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act 2013. Types of sexual harassment: demand or request for sexual favors, threat about employment status, promise for preferential treatment, detrimental treatment, humiliating treatment which affects her health offensive of hostile environment, physical contact and advances, unwanted physical, verbal or non-verbal contact of sexual nature, showing pornography, making sexually colored remarks. Now we will see Maternity Benefit Act 1961. Principal Maternity Benefit Act 1961, 12 weeks maximum of maternity benefit leave, 6 weeks before the expected delivery date and extending up to 6 weeks after the childbirth. Additional maternity leave of 4 weeks in case of illness supported by a doctor's opinion. Rupees 3,500 per maternity. Current provision of maternity bonus. Leave for miscarriage or medical termination of pregnancy. A woman shall on production of such proof as the entitled to leave with wages at the rate of maternity benefit for a period of 6 weeks immediately following the day of her miscarriage. 2 nursing breaks till child is 15 months old. Every woman delivered of a child who returns to the duty after such delivery shall, in addition to the interval for rest allowed to her, be allowed in the course of her daily work 2 breaks of prescribed duration for nursing the child until the child attains the age of 15 months. Penalties: imprisonment, monetary fine. Penalty for contravention of the Act of Employers: imprisonment which shall not be less than 3 months, which may extend up to 1 year, and the fine not less than 2,000 rupees, which may extend up to 5,000 rupees. Maternity Benefit Act 2017, the big change. This amendment has increased the duration of maternity leave available for women employees from the existing 12 weeks to 26 weeks. India third on the list of the country with most number of days given as the maternity leave after Canada and Norway. Passed by Parliament 9th March 2017, received assent from the President 27 March 2017, date of enforcement 1st April for majority of amendments. Now we will see Preconception and Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques Act 1994, which saves the girl child. An act to provide for the prohibition of sex selection before or after conception and for regulation of prenatal diagnostic techniques for the purpose of detecting abnormalities or metabolic disorders or chromosomal abnormalities or certain congenital malformation or sex-linked disorders, and for the prevention of the misuse of sex determination leading to female foeticides. This picture depicts sex discrimination is a crime. Girl and boy. The penalties: 3 years and a fine which extend up to 50,000 rupees for the first offence, and 5 years imprisonment and fine of rupees 1 lakh for the subsequent offence. Penalty to patients: 3 years imprisonment and 50,000 rupees for first offence, and repeated offence 5 years and a fine of 1 lakh rupees. The Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005, an amendment to the Hindu Succession Act 1956, received the assent from the President of India on 5th September 2005 and was given effect from 9th September 2005. It was essentially meant for removing gender discriminatory provisions regarding property rights in the Hindu Succession Act 1956. It was a revolutionary step in the field of Indian legislation regarding rights for women in India. Amendment of Section 6 of the Principal Act: daughter shall have the same rights in the property as she would have had she been a son. The daughter shall be subject to the same liability in the said property as that of son. The daughter shall be allotted the same share as is allotted to a son. The share of per deceased son or a per deceased daughter shall be allotted to the surviving child of such per deceased son or of such per deceased daughter. The share of the per deceased child of a per deceased son or of a per deceased daughter shall be allotted to the child of such per deceased child of the per deceased son or a per deceased daughter. Now we will see eve teasing. Tamil Nadu Prohibition of Eve Teasing Act 1998. an act to prohibit eve teasing in any place in the state of Tamil Nadu. Self-help groups first found in the Bangladesh in the year of 1976. In India, self-help group scheme was first introduced in Amravati in 1983. Aims of self-help groups: regular skill development training programs, better packaging, standardization of ingredients, pricing, and to develop marketing skills, habits of raising loans, farm savings, inculcated with sense of belongingness, habit of thrift. Now we will see Panchayat Raj institutions. The Constitution, 73rd Amendment Act 1992 Act was applicable in all states and union territories. Salient features: Panchayat shall be constituted in every state at village, intermediate and state level. Panchayats at the intermediate level may not be constituted in a state having a population not exceeding 20 lakh. All the seats in the Panchayat shall be filled by direct elections. 73rd Amendment on 24th April 1993, the Constitution Act 1992, 73rd Amendment came into force to provide constitutional status with the Panchayati Raj institutions. India's federal structure, union, is divided into state, and state is divided into Panchayat Raj, municipality. Panchayat Raj is divided into Jilla Panchayat, Block Taluk Panchayat, Village Panchayat. Municipality is divided into municipal corporation, municipal council, Nagar Panchayat. Village Panchayat is divided into Grama Sabha, village assembly, ward meeting, municipal areas, autonomous council for tribal areas. Thank you for watching my video. I think it is useful for you all. If you like my video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you.